Well, it's April 2021, and I'm really falling in love with this idea of how to grow successful adults. And one of the surprising things that I've been thinking about is how can we help kids and adults not commit suicide. I've had so many friends who've had children who committed suicide as young adults, as teenagers. And I'm wondering if one of the things is that children haven't learned to communicate what they need and what they want, and to say, hey, I'm scared, or hey, I'm feeling useless, or hey, I don't know how to struggle. I don't know how to feel badly about myself and about life. And kids getting so isolated. I was very isolated as a kid. I remember when Joanne, I think her last name was Gunn at the time, and I were driving, and I said how I didn't need anything, and she laughed and said that I was one of the most needy people she'd ever met. And she worked at a treatment center for kids who were really scaring their adults, and I almost lost control of the car. That she saw me as being needy, and I didn't see myself as being needy. I was ashamed of being needy. I was ashamed of struggling. And I would tell myself things like, oh, I just drag everybody down who's around me, and I fail at everything I try. And so over the years, I really got to see, because I went into therapy and got a lot of help from a lot of wise people, to see that failure is part of life. If you're going to try something new, if you're going to learn something, you're going to fail, and then you correct your mistakes and you eventually get it. And there's this idea that you have to be successful right off the bat. And I can remember being embarrassed that my parents didn't have a car, and then when they did get a car, it was a very old car because it was all they could afford. But I was ashamed of them, and I was ashamed of this old car because it wasn't successful. And I was ashamed that my parents weren't happy. I was ashamed that I wasn't happy. And so I think that as we can pay our kids a big favor by saying, hey, I don't expect you to be happy all the time. Sometimes it'd be good. But I was isolated from my parents, and especially my father, because he hit me and beat me, and I was scared of him, and I couldn't say anything to him for fear that he would hurt me. And so one of the things to remember is, I think, for parents to, just do whatever they can to keep the communication lines open, and to be very forgiving of their kids. Not expect their kids to be perfect right off the bat. So I hope this helps you as a parent and you as a kid. Just remember that, life is not always easy. We don't always get what we want. We can't always be successful. We can't always be, famous. And it makes me so sad to see so many people faking it. I look at some people and I wonder, gee, do you know who you are? I see who you're trying to pretend to be, but I can see that you're suffering and you're frightened and you're angry and you want to look good. I think it's called sophistry. I think that's the word, where you sound, where everybody pays attention to how you sound and how you look and how you act, not to who you really are. And I think of all the people that I've spent time with who were successful at committing suicide. You know, committing suicide because they thought they were a weight on everybody else and thought that they didn't have what it takes to stay alive, and that they were ashamed that they were suffering and they felt crazy. And then their reasoning gets all screwed up, you know. They forget about all the people that love them. They don't even know. I've asked lots of people, I said, who loves you? And you know, the number of people who can't say, well, my grandmother loves me, or all these kinds of people. And then I say, you know, if you died, who would miss you? Who would just have their whole life wrecked? And they never thought about that. They never thought about how important they are. And everybody is important. Everybody has a gift. Everybody is unique. And so the idea is, you know, be who you are. Don't be who you think everybody wants you to be. You know, I mean, you got to pay attention to how people want you to be, you know, because you don't want to scare other people. But I know so many people that think it's okay to scare people. It's okay to treat people badly. It's okay to have people not liking them. And boy, it just moves us all so far from the truth, telling the truth. And this whole job of being a parent and telling the kid the truth without scaring the kid. It's a big job, but you'll get through it. And if you want to commit suicide, please go to people who aren't afraid of things like suicide. You know, there's this thing that if it's unpleasant, don't talk about it. It's crazy. It's just like, hey, there's unpleasant stuff in life, but we have to face it. We've got to kind of embrace it and say, yep, it's tough right now, and it may be tough for a long time, but I've got what it takes to stay alive, and I'm important to a lot of people. So I hope this inspires you to make videos about what's helped you in the world and what you think might help other people. Make your own videos, okay, and get them out. Get out into the world and tell the truth.